What's up, y'all? I'm Ethan.
Hey, man, this Dwayne, man.
How you doing, everybody? My name's Gabriel.
And of course, your host, Andrew.
Yeah, we gotta have conversations like this more often.
We do. We really do.
This is better than therapy to me. This is better than therapy. Yeah.
This is therapy.
So many kids don't have the privilege and honestly the blessing of growing up like that. Unfortunately, because life happens, people die. I don't want to say people fall out of love, but people stop making the decision to love each other.
Yes.
And they don't want to choose to keep doing it anymore.
Because right there, you said it, choose.
Yeah.
Love is
they don't want to choose to keep doing it anymore, so they separate. And like that happens to people. But I feel like it's always important to remember that our relationship is supposed to be a source of peace for you and for your partner. And I think oftentimes because we become so normalized to the media portraying relationships as just inherently stressful, like where from watching shows where someone is cheating on their partner to be with you, and that becomes a stressful situation where you're hiding this relationship from your parents, or as we grow up in a culture where it's almost considered popular to not have healthy relationships. I think it's becoming very difficult for people to have an image of what a healthy relationship is and what love is. And I think the saddest part is that as Christians, like we have it in the Bible, like love is patient, love is kind, so on and so forth. But I think that a lot of us have strayed so far from like the fact that, like you said, love is a choice ultimately. And if you're not willing to choose to be patient, to be kind, to not hold grudges against someone, like I feel like we don't even realize how difficult it is to choose that, to choose to not keep a record of wrong,
because it's so natural to want to get even with somebody.
Exactly. It's such a deep-seated desire to, well, you did this to me, so that justifies this, or to not be boastful, or to throw your pride out the window, or to, you know, endure all things, to love through all things, to actually be committed. Like it's very, very difficult to love someone.
I think a lot of it comes from a place of selfishness, especially younger generations. They tend to love doing things only for themselves, and I feel like love and like being in a relationship and being in love with someone oftentimes has to be more of a selfless act instead of a selfish act. You know, like there's going to be sacrifices that have to be made. Like if you're married, there's going to be financial commitments. There may be sacrifices on somebody's goals and aspirations. Maybe, you know, you might have said by 31 I wanted to be living in California, and maybe you might have to put that on hold for a while. It's not that you're living in California now, but maybe you'll move to California later at some other time in your life. And it's sad, but I see it a lot in our generation. Like there are a lot of people who I do see selfless loving, but then I feel like I see a lot of selfish loving a lot more people. Well, if so-and-so doesn't do this for me or that for me or the other for me, that's it, I'm cutting it off. People say, oh, it's standards. And I think there's a difference between standards that, you know, are standards, and standards which are just you being selfish.
Your opinions.
Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting when there's two, it's always two people in a relationship. There's, you were talking about selfless love. So one person comes with the selfless and one person comes with the selfish. That's going to be very destructive.
Yeah.
But it's funny to me. It's not really, it's sad but funny at the same. Yeah, whatever. When two selfish people come together, because I'm like, both you're only looking out for yourselves. So how are you planning on ever coming together to satisfy the needs of the other? So like how it doesn't make sense to me.
Some people need time to figure out what selflessness is, because some people genuinely believe that in a relationship it's that mentality of I gotta look out for me. And people have that vibe of like, I'm in a relationship, and if I'm not looking out for me, then this isn't healthy, or this isn't gonna work, because I gotta stay on my grind, I gotta look out for me, I gotta make sure I'm okay, and like they have this like I mentality in relationships. And something that I'm learning is you cannot go into a relationship thinking about I. Because if you do, you're going to inherently hurt the other person. It is impossible to love someone and constantly put yourself ahead of them.
I think so much of it stems from the fact that people rush into relationships now. Because if you think about it, you're going from living a life where your focus is on yourself. I mean, like us right now, you know, the majority, like we're all single, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't want to make any assumptions, but we're all single. Our focus is primarily directed towards ourselves. And I feel like a lot of people end up rushing into marriage, and there's not that time taken, that space taken, where the priority is transitioning from yourself to now it's myself and someone else. And when you rush into a relationship, you're still focused on yourself. You're still focused on, I'm living a single life, you know? Like, this is how I used to run my days. Once you're married, it's not about how you used to run your days. It's about how you and your spouse will run your days. Like, what you do has a direct impact on them. And a lot of people kind of still operate in that solo mentality where it's like, I'm just forging ahead, making my own path. Go ahead.
Now, I think it is important to note that what you said is it's not an I thing, and it should now be a we thing. So that's very important. But I also want to note, you can't love somebody else if you don't love yourself first.
I don't know if I agree with that, actually. And it's such a fine line, because I do genuinely believe that you have to have a level of self-respect and a level of understanding your value in order to love someone else. But I genuinely believe that until you understand the idea of unconditional love, in other words, the love that Jesus has for you, you can't love someone else. And the reason I say that is because I know people who don't really understand Jesus and his love, but they do understand unconditional love. It's literally impossible to like embrace someone fully without understanding the fact that like no one is perfect. And it's like you said, Dwayne, like people have a past, and sometimes people change, people make mistakes, and people grow, you know. And I feel like if you can't understand the fact that if you also can't understand the fact that you're the person you love is going to hurt you, like that's a guarantee. They're going to hurt you sometimes, and in some ways they're going to really like, you're going to feel just downright betrayed by them. You're going to feel hurt, frustrated. Some days you're just not going to understand them, they're not going to understand you. But like that whole without condition part is so important, meaning that there is nothing they can do to make you love them more. There's nothing they can do to make you love them less. So your love for them isn't based on anything that they do, but it's based on who you are and your decision to love them despite what they do. Now, love also doesn't mean that I'm going to tolerate anything you do. It doesn't mean that I'm just going to embrace everything you do because it's unconditional. It means that nothing you do can change the way that I love you. However, if there comes a point where this love is not something that both of us can healthily continue to entertain, then maybe we need to love from a distance, or maybe this relationship type of love isn't working, if that makes sense.
Hey guys, this is the end. I really hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, I guess. I mean, it's something a little different than I have ever done or created on Reader, but hopefully what I'm trying to say. I hope that you got a message here. You learned something. A little something different that you didn't expect to learn. These are our opinions. They're not all like the end all. So, you know, we're not trying to be like, oh, put this down your throat. No, just think about what we have to say, apply it to your life the best you can, and have a good day. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a happy and wonderful Friday. Remember, Jesus loves you and I love you too. Bye-bye.